Massachusetts, Mr. Lynch is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you and Ranking Member Comer for holding this very important hearing. I also want to thank our distinguished panel of witnesses for your willingness to appear here in person and also to testify remotely and to help the committee with its work. As a lawmaker, I'd like to turn to explore the wider legal framework ramifications that this decision in Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health and the broader impact on the right to privacy, which the court had previously held was supported by the U.S. Constitution in Roe v. Wade. You know, since it was decided in 1973, Roe v. Wade has been cited in more than 4,500 cases, including more than 140 Supreme Court cases, more than 2,600 lower federal court cases, and nearly 2,000 state court cases. For nearly 50 years, Roe and its progeny have stood as the law of the land, reflecting a delicately determined legal balance between the fundamental right of a woman to make a decision about her reproductive health, free from unnecessary governmental interference, and the legitimate interest of the state. But importantly, Roe also affirmed and underpinned and solidified the individual right to privacy of every American, as derived from the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. According to the court, this constitutional guarantee to personal privacy includes, and I quote, only personal rights that can be deemed fundamental or implicit in the concept of ordered liberty, close quote. And it also extends to activities related to marriage, procreation, contraception, family relationships, and child rearing and education. In overruling Roe and disregarding 5 decades of carefully deliberated precedent, Justice Alito's majority opinion asserts nonetheless that nothing in this opinion should be understood to cast doubt on other precedents that do not concern abortion. But given the indispensable role of Roe and its line of cases in our rights to privacy framework, I'm not so sure about that. Ms. Goss-Graves, Justice Alito's majority opinion takes great pains to distinguish the right to abortion from other privacy-related rights. In stark contrast, the National Women's Law Center, your institution, has warned that Dobbs, quote, lays out a roadmap for eviscerating other important rights. I'd like you to talk about that, about the wider impacts that this decision impacts those wider rights, those privacy rights.
Well, our first major concern is that it upends the idea of the right to privacy. As you named, the right to privacy had been articulated before Roe and has been built upon following Roe, whether you're talking about contraception or intimate relationships or same-sex marriage more recently. But the other thing that was deeply concerning about Justice Alito's opinion is he basically says that if it was not a right that was well grounded in our nation's history at the time of the 14th Amendment, it's not one that should be afforded respect. Well, women at the time of the 14th Amendment could not practice law, could not have lines of credit, couldn't own property separate from their husbands. So if we have to go back to the rights that women had in terms of controlling our lives and future and destiny, we are all in trouble at that time. And then the last thing that I will just say is that totally missing from a lot of the conversation today, but certainly Justice Alito's opinion, is the right to control your own body and make decisions about your own body. That is not a small idea. It is a giant idea, and it is not a small idea to just stay pregnant or be forced to give birth. That is a traumatic idea for people in this country.
Yeah, one would think that if there is a right to privacy, and also Justice Alito in his opinion at page 9 says that abortion was not recognized in the Constitution, but he adds neither was privacy. And it just causes me to wonder that if the relationship between a woman and her doctor about her health, if that is not within the right to privacy, I'm not sure I can imagine anything that is. And that causes me great concern as well. Well, my time has expired. I want to thank you all for your attendance here and your willingness to help the committee with its work. Thank you. I yield back.